understand what the truth of the matter is and how badly brainwashed people are, you need to move out of the realm of just saying, I'm taking in information and learning about what's going on, and get to the point where you are teaching other people in a formalized way, not just mentioning it to them when you go to the damn grocery store. That's not teaching. I'm sorry. The people who think, the armchair quarterbacks who think that you're doing something, fine. I'm not saying don't do that, folks. Don't get it twisted and say be silent when you go in public. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's not formalized teaching. You're not going to sit there for hours upon hours upon hours and teach people anything. If anything, they're going to be a little bit receptive to what you have to say, and then you move on. You might plant a seed, if that. But that's not formal teaching. Saying something to your family member isn't formal teaching. Let me say something about this, folks. I want to talk about doing the great work in this capacity from a personal perspective. And a couple of friends of mine actually asked me to mention this. Okay? And it's the state of consciousness that my own mother has gone into as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. It's amazing. It's amazing. All of the seeds that I planted, hammering information in. How many days I went to her house? I would go from my house over to my mother's house with a DVD. Walk in, I'd go in with the key, okay? She'd be sitting there watching something like Dancing with the Stars. I kid you not, literally. And I walk up to the TV, put the disc in the DVD player, close the tray, switch the input, and say, this is what we're watching tonight. Call the police if you don't like it. An actual, direct violation of her free will. That's how much I hammered this information into her. I said, call the police. I'm armed. If they come, your son and them, some of them, will die today. That's what you'll have to do to get me out of this house. I've done it. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. I've done this. Ask her. Ask her if you ever meet her in person. Finally, after the COVID-19 crisis breaks, the planting of the seeds pays off. And my own mother is calling me. I've had the blinders taken off of me that have been over my eyes my whole life. I can't believe I didn't see it before. This is all about them controlling people and lying to people through the media. My own mother. And then she hits me with, I'm so angry that we're being lied to and controlled like this. And then she hits me with, I can't believe you knew what you knew for this long. And you've been trying to tell people for this long, and how it didn't drive you crazy. Because it's only been less than a month and I already feel like I'm going crazy. And people, when I tell them it's not what you think it is, they're saying to me, you must be crazy. Now, do you know how much I just have to smile? But there's a part of me that is, my heart is completely warm, that I'm like ready to jump up out of my seat and cheer. And then there's a part of me that's like, Jesus, God, that took almost 20 years of hammering knowledge into somebody, and it was one person doing that to one other human being, and it took that many damn years. See? That's what people who think they're doing the great work by just talking to a family member is. Now, what if I just left it there? And I'm just going to convert this person one-to-one in person. No technology, no outreach, no global platform, no putting out formalized media presentations week after week after week, month after month. No, I'm just going to talk to one person. You know the progress that you'd make, or even a handful of people. You might even have 4 or 5 people that are awake to her extent, which is not a great level of awakening. It's good, She sees it now. She's not arguing. It's about control. This is about enslaving the populace. This is about taking our rights away. And I can see it now. That's a spiritual awakening that is at its very budding and beginning. And that's very, very, very encouraging news. But look at the Herculean effort. That in addition to all the time I took to do all of this, I was doing that in person for that many damn years. And now it's just starting to break up through the surface. And she's now at the point where she's at least not afraid to tell other people this is all bullshit. You look at the perspective that was truly done out of, and you look at how harshly it was done. It was done nonetheless out of love. And then she'll say, I could only imagine. She's humbly acknowledging to me, finally, after all of these years, it's breaking up my voice. I'm going to try to hold it together. Because, folks, in the past, when I started doing this, she said some very unpleasant things to me about me doing this work. And now she's saying, I'm glad you're doing this. And I can't believe I didn't see it before. And she's like, I can only imagine what you know. Because she knows the amount of information I've taken in. She's seen me doing it, worrying about me, worrying about that I was going crazy because of how incessantly, like a pit bull, I was just studying and reading nonstop and not having a social life for many years. You know? That's how much one-to-one work pays dividends over that long a period of time. What we're really talking about is doing it in a bigger way, folks, and that's great. Do it one-on-one too, in addition. But get it out there in the digital space. That's where the war is, folks. The battlefield is not just in person. It's a small part of it. The battlefield is in the digital domain. I'm sorry if you're not a techie or you don't like that. That's the reality. That's the fact of the matter. So this should show us what our work is to do. How are we going to reach all these people? Ask yourself the question, is the voice of the truth winning, or is the voice of the lie and the deception winning? What's reaching more people? What's reaching more numbers of people? The voice of the mainstream media and the deception that voice represents, or the voice of reason, logic, truth? I think if you're being honest with yourself, you understand the propaganda of the media is working way better. And, we need to put our own propaganda out there. That's what speaking the truth is. It's a form of propaganda. It is saying, I am attempting to influence your mind toward the right way of thinking. And there is a right way of thinking and a wrong way of thinking about all of this stuff. Absolutely. And the right way is stick to your principles. Stick not to your principles, stick to the principles. Because they're the same principles for everyone. They don't change. And then, as part of this whole pandemic agenda, we have people saying we have to listen to the so-called experts, and the so-called official narrative isn't to be questioned. And you know who this is coming from? This is coming from actual and de facto Satanists. Folks, I very rarely have ever talked about actual names of people inside the satanic community, because guess what? You don't really have to understand their names. It's not as important. This is what everybody thinks, it's so important. Name all these names. If I said James Comerford, what the hell is that to you? You don't know this name. You don't know anybody. You wouldn't know who that is. You would know nothing. If I said, just out of the top of my head, Vincent Allen, you have no idea who that is. What would it mean to you? If I told you any of these Satanists that I worked with worked in as a manager of any particular store or bank, or were a teacher at an Ivy League university, or were a judge in a particular district, or even were for example, a police chief of a town. What would be the difference if a name was named? You could name people like Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino was a general in the armed forces, in the Army's psychological warfare division, who was a practicing and renowned Satanist, a Setian, the high priest of the Temple of Set, experimenting and conducting experimentation in electronic torture techniques while he is a professed Satanist and while he is actively in the United States military, and then was brought up on trial charges for child trafficking, for involvement in child trafficking rings. And do you know what happened to his military career? Oh, it wasn't ended. He was promoted to a 4-star general, even after those allegations. And they weren't just allegations, folks. And then people want to say, you're not naming names, as if naming names is going to do anything. You need to understand their mindset and strategies, because you know what these Satanists are doing? They're giving you their mindset, and you never understand that that becomes your mindset. And that's why they can beat you. That's why they can own you. That's why they can enslave you. Because they can't enslave anybody that's outside their mindset fully, entirely, wholly outside of it. Oh, but they can enslave the mini-me Satanists that they give a watered-down variant of their ideology, and they become a de facto Satanist. So whether you're talking about actual Satanists involved in some sort of a actual network of Satanists worldwide, and or they are de facto Satanists that agree with the ideology of Satanism and the politics of it in many cases, the high-level politics of it, which is globalism, we're already seeing many of them out in the public. An externalization of the satanic hierarchical network, if you will. They are the control freak governors of the states with the hardest clampdown and lockdowns during this so-called pandemic. They are the so-called medical experts that are pushing a particular narrative. And they are then the NGO, non-government organization foundations, like the Gates Foundations, Bill and Melinda Gates, etc. And folks, they're flaunting it. They're flaunting it out in the open in our faces. On, I believe it was the Today Show, not certain about it. I actually downloaded the video. This is a frame of that video. Taken from that appearance, Melinda Gates went on with an actual inverted cross necklace, a small inverted cross medallion, which is absolutely a symbol of organized Satanism. It is not a symbol of the Church of Satan. It is not a symbol of the Temple of Set. These are low-level satanic network organizations that interface with the public. It is, however, a symbol of worldwide Satanism and the worldwide satanic network, because it is a symbol of the inversion principle, the inversion of the Trinity, the inversion of Christ consciousness in general. I've talked about it ad infinitum, the inverted cross. Talked about it a lot in my presentation called Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult. And I listed the inverted cross and the inversion principle as one of the major pieces of symbology of worldwide Satanism. Doesn't matter whether the Church of Satan or the Temple of Set or any other particular organization does not embrace it as one of their particular symbols. The Church of Satan embraces the Baphomet design that Anton LaVey created. The Temple of Set embraces the simple inverted pentagram that was favored by Michael Aquino. The Whitehall Church of Satan here in Whitehall, Pennsylvania, always favored a variation of the Baphomet known as the Hearth, Hearth. So you could look up any of these things. They all have their preferences for symbology and organization. They don't all organize one way. You have to look at them as sects, just like there are sects of Christianity. It does not mean that the inverted cross is not a chosen and agreed upon symbol of the worldwide satanic network, because it absolutely is and has been since Christianity has embraced that symbol. They've inverted it. These are Satanists, ladies and gentlemen. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. These are control freaks. They're people who think they're God. They're people who think there are kings, are rulers, are masters, that their worldview and that their absolute decrees are not to be questioned or challenged. That's the definition of what it means to be a Satanist. The very definition. And we have to understand their mindset if we're going to defeat them. We have to first understand that the world is run by Satanists. This is the missing piece of the puzzle that many, many, many people who are waking up because of this crisis and starting to ask questions still, as yet, do not comprehend or understand. That what lies behind the ostensible rulers, the ostensible politicians, the ostensible structures of power are satanic, dark, occult, social engineering, mind